So I'm going in to see The Black Phone, and I know this video is a week or two late because it's been out for a while, but that's just because I really have had not the highest desire to see this movie. I mean, I've wanted to, but I've never felt the urge to be like, oh my gosh, I have to go out and see this film. That's why this intro is probably not really creative as some of the other ones I've done, not as excited as some of the other ones I've done, but I've heard this movie is good. It looks interesting. And that's really all I'm looking for this film. So, very simple intro. I'll let you know what I think of this movie when I get out. I'll see you then. As I was watching Black Phone, I did have questions throughout the movie. But there was one question I had that just randomly came to my mind, and it was more of a philosophical question in regards to us as a society. And that was, what does it say about us that we would rather watch a child in situations like this, whether that's tortured or unbearable situations, or heck, even being killed, than watch the same thing happening to an adult? And I think, you could say it's because it's easier to relate to a child and you feel more pity for a child that they're going through these situations. It's easier to connect. It's more fulfilling. Whatever. But I keep wondering, what does it say about us that we'd rather, like I said, watch a child go through this stuff than watch somebody more like us? I don't know. Maybe I'm saying it wrong or whatever, but that was just a question I had. If you have a thought about that, comment down below. But as for the movie itself, this movie was good. It was a little longer than I expected. The run length is the run length. But there was one moment when it just felt like, okay, the movie should be ending, or it'll end here. And it didn't. I think it's just a tad too long. Maybe like if you cut out a couple minutes in the beginning and we get quicker to the point where the main kid in the film, the main protagonist that we're following, that he gets kidnapped or grabbed. Maybe if you got cut to that sooner, it would definitely make the movie shorter, but it might also just make the movie flow a little bit better. But I understand why they did what they did. I guess I also was expecting more to happen while he was kidnapped, or more stuff to happen in those situations, and it didn't. But overall, it was a good story. It was a solid script. It wasn't a good story, but it was told well. They told a story in a good way, even though it was a negative story. But that being said, Ethan Hawke, yeah, he's great in it. And he is actually the most confusing of this film, I think. Because you're never sure what he's going to do. And it was one of those times where I'm like, wait, does he have personality disorder? Multiple personality disorder? I liked what they did with the mask, having different faces at different times, and he would act differently. But I was just like, wait, is he supposed to have different personalities? Is it just part of his whole act? Is this like a split situation? Is this like more recently a Moon Knight situation? I don't know. In the movie, it never really answers that. It might hint at things or just let you assume certain things. But I feel like it never really gives you a straightforward answer. And that's actually not a bad thing. But that's what I was trying to figure out the whole time. I wasn't paying attention really to what the kid was doing, the voices he was hearing on the phone, how they were helping him. Yeah, obviously I was paying attention to that when it was happening. But I was trying to figure out Ethan Hawke's character. I was trying to figure out the grabber and just what he was about. And there's a lot of interesting things in this movie. The supernatural aspects are neat. But I also feel like they too didn't really feel like, how are they tying together? Because you have the dreams and how things are happening, how the outside world is finding out about stuff that's happening in the house and the murders. And you've got the kid's hearing on the phone. So it's like, how do these exactly tie together? I mean, they make it work, but at the same point, it's like, I'm still scratching my head, not entirely sure how it all worked. But it was definitely entertaining, kept me enthralled. And if you can figure out what's going on, let me know down below. Like I said, I think I figured it out for the most part, and I had a general idea. But I just have this gut feeling that there's something deeper about this movie that I just couldn't figure out. Now, it's done by the guy who did the first Doctor Strange movie. At least that's what I know him from. So it was definitely interesting to see him tackle, I guess I'll say, a normal horror thriller type movie, a little supernatural in there, and not rely on the visual effects and these established Marvel characters, you know, big budget. So it was neat to see him go do this lower budget film. Now, maybe he's done that. He probably has. But I just kind of find it interesting. Scott Dickerson, and I forget. I know the first name's Scott. I'm pretty sure about that. Anyway, it was just interesting that I knew that director, so I could compare this to that work. It was just something I found interesting. And he did a really good job with this. The tension was there, though I felt like at times it wasn't as much as it could have been, just because of how long between takes there were at times. The opening confused me as well, because I thought, okay, we're going to jump ahead in time, but it all actually takes place in another time period. You know, like I think it's in the 70s or something. And I guess it wasn't exactly what I was prepared for. But again, great performances. The story was good. Locations were great. I liked the supernatural aspect to it. And just all the kids in general did a really good job. I was invested in them for the most part. I mean, I was even invested in the ghosts, and they were cool. I like how they portrayed them, how you could see the ghosts when they were there at times. And I just like how that was perceived. It was almost like we're kind of seeing what he sees, but at the same point, we're seeing what the supernatural world is looking like. And that's cool. So as I was reviewing this review, there were two things that popped into my mind that I wanted to include and I forgot. One was, they don't really give us an origin for the grabber. At first, I thought the beginning was an origin for the grabber, but that's not the case. And I kind of am interested that they didn't do that, and it works. But at the same time, I wanted to know more about this character. I almost feel like it might have meant more. It might have added something to the character if we knew a little bit about his backstory. But I mean, having a mysterious villain is also kind of neat and interesting. But the one thing that I like is I like some more complexity in my villains. I mean, this is primarily a nerd channel. So when it comes to Marvel, DC, that type of stuff, that's a lot of what this channel is. But with their villains, you always have, even if they're bad, there's usually some complexity to them, that there's a reason why they do what they do. Sometimes if they're really good, you can sympathize with them to a certain degree. None of that is here with the grabber. And that's just because we have no idea why he's doing what he's doing, why he thinks the way he thinks. So we really have no connection to the villain, to the grabber at all, which probably is not a terrible thing. I just wish there had been a little bit more, because I realized that's the one thing this movie was missing. But it really is probably more the kid's story, the boy and his sister and the neighbors around in the town, or just the whole plot. You know, that's the main focus of this film. It's not, well, who is the grabber really? So it works, but I feel like it would have been nice if they would have given us a little bit of hint to maybe help clarify one or two things, unless they wanted us to just to guess. The other thing I wanted to include was that the cinematography was good. Just the way they shot certain scenes to give you more of a suspense, to give you a little bit more of a nervousness to it. Like I said, it wasn't horror, I would say. I wasn't ever really scared. I just got, okay, what's going to happen at times. And the big moments where the cinematography came into play definitely was when they would show the ghosts of the kids that the young boy was listening to on the phone. That was really neat how they did that visually, along with other aspects of the supernatural. I just thought those were very creative choices. So that's what I thought of after I looked at this, and I just wanted to include these thoughts in it. Yeah, I mean, overall, this is a short review, but there's really, to me, it was a pretty basic movie, but it was good. It was a good basic movie. Had a lot of things that made me question certain aspects. I was wondering, like I said, if it was more complicated than I thought it was, or was it less complicated than I thought it was? And then it did have me ask that philosophical question, which, who knows? I bet that was something we weren't supposed to ask, but I just couldn't help it. So what would I say the ranking for Black Phone? I would probably give it... I'm going to give it a sidekick, because I definitely recommend it to people if you like horror and you like suspense and you like the supernatural type of things. But go in with it with an understanding that it's going to be dark. It might be a little confusing. And if you're going in for all the supernatural stuff, or you think it's going to be action-packed and it's going to be chilling to the bone, it's not. I almost have a hard time saying it's even a horror film, because the scariest thing about it is the grabber, to be honest. And that stuff, especially in movies, doesn't really scare me. But what do you think? Have you seen this movie? If so, let me know what you think down in the comments down below. If not, do you have any expectations for it? Do you have any desire to see this movie? Are you a horror fan or a suspense fan at all? Let me know. But until our next video, remember, enjoy what you love, read what you love, and let's all work for a better fandom. I'll see you next time.